All right, Mr. Chair, we're now back on YouTube and ready to go. Chris, you can push me back to co-host, please.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so at this point, I guess we're looking at each of the docket items individually. So docket item C1.
Yeah, docket item C1, case number CPC 2018-00185 for Pembroke Estates 7th plat, located at Northeast 92nd between Bell Fountain and Wabash. I believe the docket says approval with conditions, but as I recall, I think Zach has a correction to one of the conditions. Zach.
This is actually Chris is talking. Zach is having some mic issues with his laptop. Basically, he just wanted to have condition 1A removed.
Okay, and that condition is just to revise the plan to change North Chestnut Avenue to North Chelsea Avenue.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Any questions from the commission on this change? Is there anybody that raised their hand in the audience that would like to speak about docket item C1?
Mr. Chair, no one's raised their hand.
Okay, so I'll take a motion on docket item C1.
This is Commissioner Enders. Move to approve docket item C1 with condition 1A removed.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so a motion in the second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call on this motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Forcing, you're muted. Let's go ahead and go to the next one, Lisa.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion carries. C1 has been approved 6-0.
Right,
Looks like, go ahead.
the next one is C3, I believe, which is case number final plat 2020-00016 for Forest Ridge Apartments at 135th in Charlotte. Olafu, I believe you said there is a change to the staff recommendation on this.
Yeah, staff's recommendation will be for continuance to December 15th.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead, Mr. Chair, and read the rest of the continuances since they're also the same?
No, I think because this one has already been opened and is the applicant in agreement with that continuance?
Yeah, it was requested by the applicant, actually. So.
Okay, gotcha. Let's just get through the agenda and then we'll go to all the continuances on the rest of the cases. Sorry, the consent agenda. Let's get through that and then move on.
Okay, so you want me to read the other two cases on consent? Is that what you're saying?
Well, let's vote on C3 because it's a continuance where C4 and 5 are being held for some reason. Are they also going to be continued?
C4 is going to be continued.
Okay.
Yeah.
C4 will be continued to 12/15 also.
And then C5?
C5, I think there's just a change to the condition on that one.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do C4 so we can continue C3 and C4 with
C4,
one motion.
Sorry. C4 is final plat 2020-00038 for Pine Grove Point 4th plat. Request to approve a final plat to create 63 lots and 5 tracks generally located in northwest corner of North Hardesty and Northeast Pine Grove Drive. And this case is O's and O. What is the continuance date again?
Recommend continuance to January 5th. They wanted to be continued to December 15th, but there's going to be changes to the overall size, and additional lots is going to be added to this plat. So it will give staff additional time to route the revised plans for review prior to coming to you. So January 5th for C4.
Okay. So it looks like docket item C3 continued to 12/15 and docket item C4 to January 5th. Seems like on that one, we should hear from the applicant. It's, January 5th is going to be okay. I mean, I guess it has to be, but need to let them know.
Yeah, I did let them know, and I did not
Okay.
hear back from them. But the reason for the January 5th, as I stated, is that they're expanding the size of the plat, and they're increasing the number of lots, and that needs to go through all the reviewers. So I need to receive that plan and send it out. They haven't even submitted the plan. They promised to submit it on December 4th. So, which puts it beyond our resubmitter schedule for December 15th. So we need about 2 weeks to review before returning and preparing a report for you.
Okay, sounds reasonable to me. So, any questions from the commission? All right, seeing none, is there anybody that raised their hand on these two docket items?
Mr. Chairman, no one's raising their hand.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Chair Crowell, I move to continue docket item C3 to December 15th and C4 to January 5th.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second to continue these two cases. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call on this, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, so it looks like the motion passes 7-0. Let's move on to docket item C5.
C5 is case number final plat 2020-00034 for Brook Hills third plat, which is located at 5801 Northeast 119th Street. And Jamie Hickey is our planner on this one. Jamie, I believe there's a condition that we're removing. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It'll be condition 1, and it has been satisfied, and the applicant, Patricia Jensen, who may be on the call, has requested that it be removed, and there's no objection from staff. So we can go ahead and remove that first condition.
Okay. Any question from the commission on? All right. Well, let's see. Has anybody raised their hand to speak on this case, Joe?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve case C5 with the removal of condition 1.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Lisa, do you mind taking roll call on this motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. So I think that concludes our consent agenda items. And so let's move into our regular agenda. If we go through the continuances first, please, Joe.
Yeah, docket item 1 is case number CPC 2020-00153. A request to approve a development plan to allow construction of a 144,000 square foot building addition on about 15 acres located at the northwest corner of Northeast 40th and North Kimball. Staff is recommending continuance. Olafu is at January 5th.
Yes, January 5th. That's correct.
January 5th, 2021 without fee. Docket item 2.1 and 2.2 are companions. They're Auburndale Manor located at 7401 Northeast Cookingham Drive, which is a request to approve a development plan and a rezoning to allow 50 lot single family subdivision. Staff is recommending continuance of these two cases to December 15th. Docket item 3.1 and 3.2 are companion cases for the Berry West development located at 10900 Northwest Berry Road. It's a request to approve a residential development on about 59 acres consisting of 354 attached homes, and a companion rezoning to allow that density. Staff is recommending continuance to December 15th without fee. Docket item 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 are all companion cases for the project known as Seabiscuit, located at 12200 North Ambassador Drive, which is a request. 4.1 is the request to rezone the property. 4.2 is a request to approve a development plan on the property, and 4.3 is a request to approve a council-approved signage plan on the property. This case has been continued a number of times, and at this point, staff is recommending continuance off docket of all three cases. Docket item 5 is case number CPC 2020-00006, a request to amend the zoning and development code as it relates to section 88-445, which is the sign code for signage in the downtown loop. Staff is recommending continuance to December 15th without fee. Docket item 6 is case number CPC 2020-00135. This is also an amendment to the zoning and development code in relation to periodic review. Staff is recommending continuance to December 15th without fee. Docket item 7, case number CPC 2020-00162, another amendment to the zoning and development code. This one is pertaining to public hearing notice and fees. Staff is recommending continuance to December 15th without fee. And that's all of the continuances on the docket, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Looks like we got several continuances this meeting. Docket items 1 through 7. Are there any questions from commission on the continuance of these cases?
Yeah, Joe, it's Commissioner Allender. Can you just give me a reason why we keep on putting the amendments and changes to chapter 88 and they continue to be continued? There seems to be a lot that come through and we just can keep on continuing. I'm just wondering why that's the case and why they're on the docket.
The docket items 6 and 7, since I'm working on those. In both cases, on the periodic review and docket items with regard to the public hearing procedures, there's some questions from our law department that need to be resolved before we're ready to proceed. In addition to, for docket item 7, there's some public outreach that needs to be performed. Once we advertise a case, we have to, and continue it, we have to put it on the docket. So that's part of the reason why they're on here in the first place. Because last time you guys continued it to this date. We're continuing it to the 15th in the hopes that we'll be able to do some of the amendments proposed. For example, in docket item 7, the fee amendment is really urgent and it should be minor and not require public, a lot of public engagement. But then we need to proceed with that. The rest of it may have to be held again to allow that to occur. It's just hard to do that with COVID and holidays right now to get that all that rolling. I don't know if Patty can speak to the docket item 5.
Yes, Patty Knoll, city planner. I am working on docket item number 5. It just involves going around downtown and gathering some information on existing signage. So that should be ready to go December 15th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission on the continuance of these cases? Okay, seeing none. Joe, is there anyone that's raised their hand regarding continuance of these cases?
No one has raised their hand.
Okay, well, I'll take a motion to continue these cases.
Chair Crow, I move to continue case 1, 2.1, 2.2, 3.1, 3.2, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 5, 6, and 7 as stated in the docket.
Okay, and I believe only docket item 4 has a fee. So I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, that's right.
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Lisa, do you mind taking roll call, please, on this motion?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill, and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like motion passes to continue all those cases to the date stated on the agenda. So that leads us to docket item number 8 as our only real case to hear today. And Joe, before we get started, I just want to point out that our company has rented a piece of the property, just a portion of the property of the Westport High School, so we could use it as a staging area for work along the streetcar. I don't think that's a conflict of interest because, you know, it won't affect my opinion of this particular case one way or the other until after, you know, so I'd like to be part of the case. And I believe it's just whether or not it's going to be blight. So I just want to point that out.
All right, thank you.
I'll
so-
need to recuse myself on this case. Do we have anything additional after this?
No.
We do not.
Okay, so I might just log off. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. We'll see you next meeting.
All right, docket item 8, case number CPC 2020-00158, request to approve a PIEA general development plan for Westport High School and make a finding of blight on about 11.5 acres that is currently zoned MPD at 315 East 39th Street. Jamie Hickey is the staff planner.
Hi, good morning. Let me get my screen sharing here. Hold on one moment. Actually, Joe, Chris, it doesn't look like I have that option. Oh, there it is. Okay. Here we are. Okay, what we have before you is a PIEA request for the historic Westport High School former school site at 315 East 39th Street. They are seeking approval of the general development plan and also for you to requesting a finding of blight for the site in order to move forward with the PIEA process. The site is in Midtown, as many of you know, and it is located on the south side of 39th Street between McGee Street and Locust. Again, it is the former historic Westport High School. It is now currently a vacant former school building. I do know that we have the applicant and I know we have Jim Potter who did the blight study, and I believe David McCoubrey from PIEA on to make their presentation. So if we could promote them, I think they have a more thorough presentation to give on this case. If the applicants are online, could you raise your hand? Let's see.
Chris, could you please promote them? Like I can't since I'm the co-host.
We'll do it right now.
All right, looks like I promoted David McCoubrey. I'm trying to find...
I just promoted Jim.
Great.
Great. Mr. Chair, this is Jim Potter. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Jim Potter, Development Initiatives, 4501 Fairmount Avenue, Kansas City. I think Jamie did a good job with an intro there. Jamie, can you pull up our presentation, or can I share mine?
You should be able to share yours, but if you'd like me to run it instead, I can do so.
I'll just go ahead and share mine, and we'll run through it pretty briefly. All right, can everybody see that okay?
Yes, yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, let's see if I can expand it here. All right, as Jamie mentioned, this is a proposed PIA planning area for the former Westport High School. It is located generally between Gillum Row or Gillum on the east and Warwick on the west, just south of 39th Street. This proposed PIA encompasses 5 different property parcels. It's about 11.5 acres. 95% of the area is currently vacant. The former Westport High School is currently vacant right now, as well as the surrounding areas. There is one property owner, which controls the entire property. Existing structures, again, we talked about the vacancy. The Westport High School was originally constructed in 1907. Average date of construction throughout the area is 1939 or 82 years old. The Fast Stop, located at the southwest corner of Warwick and 39th Street, was built in 1970. That is included within this planned area. We do have a number of deteriorated conditions associated with age and lack of maintenance, as well as several environmental issues at the former school. We're going to go through this pretty briefly. So as far as the plan is concerned, Jamie mentioned the existing zoning. This plan outlines rezoning to UR. Design guidelines follow the Midtown Plaza area plan. And it should be noted that as part of the transaction between the school district and the developer, there is a number of deed restrictions that govern the school property. That includes future educational uses, tax abatement for the project, as well as increased community uses. There are standard PIA benefits outlined in this plan. The developer is not seeking tax abatement unless they can work out a future specific agreement with the school district. The developer will be seeking sales tax exemption on construction materials, or STECM. There's no condemnation as part of this project. And it should be noted that the location is within a distressed census tract. Proposed project includes, and I believe the developers are online, so they can provide further clarification following my presentation, but the proposed project anticipates a renovation of the school building into 133 apartments. That includes total building replacement of all electrical, plumbing, HVAC, mechanical systems, roof systems, etc. Currently, all those are obsolete, non-functioning, or totally absent from the building. The plan also anticipates the restoration of Oak Street through the site. And it also anticipates the development of a 6,000 to 7,000 square foot entertainment or restaurant project at the southwest corner of Warwick and 39th Street. So statutory definition of blight, I think everybody's familiar with this. We're going to go through this briefly. Basically, everything revolves around either unsafe or unsanitary conditions or deterioration of site improvements. We'll go through this briefly. As I mentioned, we have a significant amount of illegally dumped trash and debris. There's obviously signs of trespassing throughout the area. We do have environmentally hazardous materials. That includes asbestos, as well as lead-based paint. The structure is vacant. That affects approximately 95 to 98% of the planning area. We do have several code violations as well as numerous instances of property crime. Some of these images you can see, we noted a significant amount of former drug use on the school property. These are used, abandoned drug syringes that we noted. Numerous instances of that throughout the property. We have a number of dead, formerly alive pigeons throughout the area. Some of the windows throughout the school property are accessible from the outside. So a lot of pigeons have gotten in and unfortunately have not made their way out. So there's certainly signs of that throughout the building. Here's a representative example of some lead-based paint, more lead-based paint. There's just a significant amount of deterioration throughout the property. Windows, doors are compromised roofing systems, outdated, deteriorated heating, ventilation systems, and a lot of these systems are actually not present due to scavenging, people breaking in and stealing some of these materials for metal. So no fire suppression systems, no vertical transportation systems. All of the elevators are non-functioning at this point. Here's some graffiti throughout the site, which represents some trespassing. More graffiti. There's a significant amount of graffiti on the school property. Broken windows, more broken windows. We'll just keep going through here. This is we noticed several locations where these window systems have actually been compromised significantly enough that vegetation is growing into the building, which was kind of odd, but it is present within the school property. Here's more instances of that. And again, renovation of this property anticipates all new windows, all new HVAC, electrical, etc. Broken skylights. This is a typical flooring in one of the classrooms that has been compromised due to a water leak. This is the auditorium. The auditorium has been broken into and vandalized. This is the ceiling of the auditorium. And again, this is one of the former trophy cases in one of the hallways. Again, vandals have broken in and pretty much broken every pane of glass that's present within the building. Again, lots of trespassing, vacancy, deterioration of building components, etc. A two-part test. Again, same issues. We do have a property tax decline. Market value has decreased about 65% in the last 4 to 5 years, and assessed valuation has decreased by approximately 66%. We do have extraordinary redevelopment costs due to the total replacement of just basic building systems, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, etc. So that is present within this project. And keep in mind that the developers are only requesting at this point sales tax exemption on construction materials. So again, just a summary, we noted 3 of the statutory initial factors were present, and those led to an economic liability for this project. It is our recommendation that this property in this area is blighted based on the revised statutes, the definition outlined in the revised statutes. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I had one question. Can you remind me how long the high school has been abandoned?
Well, I think the developers can probably answer that question better than I. We formally worked with the school district on the repurposing project, and so we went through the property when it was active. That had to be probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Jim, can you hear me? This is Chip Walsh speaking. I'm here on behalf of ownership. Chairman, with respect to the vacancy of the building, its last year of use was either May 2011 or May 2012. And
Okay.
then we did not acquire the property from the school district until August of 2016.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from Commission?
Yeah, related question for Mr. Potter. When you went through the building in 2011 or 2012, which of these things were still present? Clearly, I imagine outdated systems were outdated in 2012, but vandalism was. Can you talk about which things changed in that period of time?
Sure, I would tell you they were all there to some degrees. That over time, it's become more pronounced. Briefly, the school district went through a right.
I was hoping Mr. Potter could answer it.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Yes, Commissioner Enders. I would say that in the period between my visits, initially it was an active building. They had the student population component. They had staffing. They had maintenance. Since the project, or since the building has been taken out of use from a school district perspective, there's been limited maintenance. There's been limited activity. There's been a lot of illegal activity concerning trespassing and people breaking into the building, scavenging materials, etc. So I would say most of the components were initially there. Some of them had been outdated as far as usage. I know the school district had renovated the property several times in its history, but most of the components were still outdated. I think that once Chip and his group purchased it, they were actually able to stabilize most of those issues.
And then, with the understanding that there was an owner in between the school district and the current developer, so not assigning any timeline to it, would you have had the same ultimate blight determination in 2011 or 2012 based upon sprinklers, asbestos, lead-based paint, etc.?
Well, my understanding is the current owners purchased the property. Excuse me a minute. Purchase a property from the school district. I don't know if I could make that finding back when the school district actually owned the property. That's a different time and maybe different conditions. We looked under the purposes of this plan. We basically took a snapshot in time. Our site inspections were over the summer, this previous summer. So I don't know if I would have had the same finding back when the school district had ownership.
Sure, thanks.
I wonder if you could.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just wondered, just on that note, because I was looking at, I think it's on page 62, it talks about the market value. And if I'm understanding correctly, the ownership, the project was purchased probably around that $6 million price in 2016, correct? And so between 2016 and 2020, the property has been devalued to 1.8 million from the original 6.2 in 2016. And I'm trying to understand why, if anybody can give any kind of commentary on that.
Well, this is Jim again. I may let Chip talk to that point, but there is an issue there with the transaction from a tax exempt school district use to a private use. And so that likely accounts for most of the increased market valuation as well as assessed valuation. But I think Chip and I had a discussion regarding this in the past, and he can probably clarify that a little bit better.
I think Jim's correct. The building's highest and best use is as a school. Its market value when the district owned it was predicated on its highest and best use. When the district through its right sizing initiative and then its repurposing initiative, took this school and about 40 others offline and then made them available for sale, and then put restrictions on use, that moves you away from the highest and best use, which has a material impact on market value.
So am I understanding the $6 million is based on that highest and best use? So when you purchased the property, you weren't paying $6 million because you're dealing with a different use restriction, correct?
I think that's correct. I'm trying to get to the correct page of the report.
So I'm looking at page 62 on the staff report. It's page 10 on the on Jim's report.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yeah. I think I kind of have similar questions to what Commissioner Enders is getting at. I'm just trying to understand them in monetary terms. Because it looks like in terms of the timeline, school was last used in 2012. It was sold to the developer in 2016. And between those years, it was left vacant. And then we're looking at 2020, where it's gone from a $6 million value at 2016 to a $1.8 million in 2020.
Sure. So again, you know, the market value that you see there for 2016 reflects how the county assessed it for highest and best use. And you're correct that at that time it was a vacant school, but it's also, I think, worth pointing out that, you know, as a school, it was exempted. So the county had made a determination of value, and without having the earlier years to sort of see if the value had held or had increased over time, it's hard for me to speculate further on how the county came to the market value. You know, our price point reflected in 2017 at the $2,025,000 value.
Okay.
And then as you look at where we are in 2020, you can see the further decline. So
gotcha.
Now
Gotcha.
some of the shift from 6.2 to the 2 million that you see there is also reflective of the price we paid was informed in part based on restrictions that the school district were putting on its use and how we could go about redeveloping it.
Gotcha. And then a couple of follow-up questions. Are you receiving historic tax credits on the property?
We have applied and we've been approved for a state allocation, and we have a part 2 pending with the National Park Service for federal.
Okay.
So.
And then maybe if you could give a little more description. It looks like, based on Jim's report, there's a lot of issues with windows being open and available for either animals, or looks like there's a lot of infiltration of water and all kinds of things from the plant life. What have you done in the last 4 years of ownership to kind of board up those areas to prevent that from future damage?
So we have boarded, but efforts to secure the building have been met with efforts to unsecure building by vandalism, and then just by nature, which is a slower process. But we have secured the building. We've worked with the Midtown KC CID for the Main Street corridor, as well as with the local neighborhood association for security patrols. We've done alarms and other safety protocols. But when you have a vacant building of this size, it's a little bit like whack-a-mole. I cannot tell you the number of times that we've had alarms go off and we've responded, and we've had KCMO police come, and unless they can immediately see it, they will usually leave. And that is primarily because when they do go in, because of a building of that size, it has to be a large force. I've seen them clear this building a half dozen times over the years, it is a 15 to 20 person undertaking, usually with security dogs. We believe that here in the last year and a half, we've been more successful, but you know, there's an ebb and flow to this nature, and it's a reflection of its blighting nature of where it is. And you see it with the evidence of the drug paraphernalia, the evidence of squatters inside the building, the evidence of vandalism, some of which occurred before several of these schools. And I've worked on about 5 of them within Kansas City in the last 10 years. You usually have break-ins that want to strip out the copper and other metals that have a resale value. You have others that will break in just because they want some place to sleep. That keeps them from the elements. You also have those that want to break in to do illegal activity of one type or another. So I hope that's responsive. If not, I'm happy to go further if needed. Commissioner.
Yes, thank you.
I have a follow-up question. How you doing? So I believe the last year that Westport was in operation as a school was in 2010. And I just think that there might be an opportunity to do some collaboration. The school district has closed a number of schools and is responsible and on the hook for keeping it up to codes, up to date, repairs, the lights on, the grass cut. It's just interesting that in these 4 years that it's had so much deterioration when it's in private use. And that's not to say that you guys are not doing all that you can, but I know that there are school districts that have to account for closure of their buildings and keeping them maintained such that you wouldn't have this level of blight. And then 4 years comes back and you come to commission, PIEA or CPC and talk about blighting conditions that may or may not have been present as Commissioner Enders asked you when you purchased the building. So what I want to get clarity on is the tax abatement, because I've seen time and time again, the school district come to the city council and talk about the impact of properties within their school district being abated. I hear that I saw that in your presentation, you said that at this point, there is no request for tax abatement, but if there is, you will work with the school district. Am I clear on that?
That is correct. And Commissioner, let me elaborate on that point first. We have a deed restriction that prohibits tax abatement unless the school board consents. There is no way around that hurdle without the school district being a willing party.
Thank you. And the easement or the restriction on that is that it could not be sold to a school. Is that correct? When you said that there was?
It's not that it cannot be sold to a school. It cannot be utilized for K through 12. Again, without school board consent.
Okay.
Now, I would tell you that because I've dealt with this restriction on other properties, that would preclude a sale to a school that wanted to put a parochial or charter or some type of school on the grounds. It would also preclude us from leasing to a school that wanted to operate there. And again, that's a condition of sale that the prior owner made for, and they are in the best position to speak as to what their reasoning was for the restriction.
Yeah, no, I remember the school district putting a restriction on it not being used as a K through 12 unless it had approval. And that was basically charter schools, I think they believe were competitive, but the district has an opportunity to sponsor charter schools. So if there was a partnership with the district, they probably could have went around that. But I just wanted to just make sure that I was clear before our vote on approval of this, that there was a condition that would require you all or the owner to go back to the school district if tax abatement was something that was
correct.
needed.
The only thing that we have clearance to do today is the request that's before you for the sales tax exemption for construction material. Commissioner, you made one other comment that I'd like to elaborate on. One, we believe vandalism was occurring between 2010 and 2016, and destruction of the property, such as this removal of materials such as copper and other metals was occurring prior to us being there. Second, the environmental issues that Jim noted in his presentation, lead-based paint, asbestos, were all existing conditions prior to our purchase of the property. In fact, we, and we shared this with Jim, have undertaken a new phase 2 for asbestos survey and have found instances of asbestos containing materials that exceeds what was originally disclosed to us by the school district in their due diligence materials.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Chair. Would you, my question for you is, do you think there was further deterioration of the building between 2016 to 2020?
I don't think it's improved as a vacant building over time. No.
This is Commissioner Enders. I think it's a great use and I'm excited about it. As we continue to try to understand, blight determinations, which are relatively based upon more anecdotal type, non-numerical data. Can you speak to any security or maintenance contracts held by the owner over the past 4 years and how much money's been spent on this property over the past 4 years in terms of security and maintenance contracts?
So I don't have exact figures in front of me, but we did have monthly contracts for security. We do have monthly contracts for maintenance. When you have a building of this type, you don't have central air. There were a couple of zones where they had computer labs or the admin offices where they had put in an early version of a VRV system to cool during the summer months. The rest of the building, which I would say was 85% or more, were just simply window air units. You had boilers that are using pathways and ductworks that go back to the original construction in 1908, and then for the addition in 1964. And really it's about trying to heat the building because it's the freeze-thaw cycle that can be the most disruptive to the building envelope and its integrity.
And so without a full understanding of what a monthly security contract or maintenance contract might look like, since obviously that could vary a ton from one person coming by or on call versus someone on site. Can you speak to the purchase? Was this like a bid? Was this an auction? Was this a private transaction? How did this come into ownership?
So the repurposing initiative had 4 steps, if I remember correctly. Step number 1 was, I think, assessment by the school district for reuses that involved a community component. Then there was a community engagement component in which they got feedback from stakeholders as to uses that they would like to see. Then it was put out through Block Real Estate Services for sale. There are state statutes, Commissioner, that dictate how any public school district in the state of Missouri may dispose of its assets like a school district. And so that had to be followed by the school board here. And to the best of my recollection, it was. Offers were submitted. Our first time presenting to the community and to the school district was in August of 2012. And we did not purchase the building until August of 16. So it was a very long process and there were several twists and turns. There was a time when there was another competitor that the district entered into a contract for sale. That contract fell apart. I'm not privy to that. We were then asked by the 3 neighborhood association presidents, and that would be Southmoreland, Old Hyde Park, and Hyde Park, to get back into this consideration. And I think it's, and by the reason I say get back into it, when we first presented, we actually had a master plan for both the junior high and the senior high. Wanted to purchase them both. District would only sell us one, which was the junior high, which is now the Plexpod Westport Commons. They went a different pathway, as I just mentioned, for the high school. Then they came back to us. And as I remember, there was this, they named a price and we had to make a determination if we were willing to take it.
Thanks. That actually helps me contextualize it a lot. What concerns I'm hoping you will alleviate for me are that what I have come to feel is that if there's a property up for sale and someone chooses to buy it, right? No one's forced to buy it, and we're worried that we're incentivizing, neglecting properties. And so I would think that if I were to purchase a property and I knew that I didn't have the use yet, or the time wasn't right, or the money wasn't there, and I had 4 years, I would do everything I could to make sure that the building stayed in good repair for the 4 years or the duration until I can start building. So I'm not putting myself in a bigger hole. But when someone else is responsible for filling in that hole, it incentivizes one to let the building fall into disrepair. And so that's what I'm really excited about the project. I want to be, alleviated of those concerns. And so anything you can tell me to let me know, oh no, we weren't incentivized by sales tax on building materials.
No, if you're asking, did we let it fall into disrepair so we could justify blight? The answer is no. At the time we acquired the building, we believe it would have met a blight finding. Over the time that we have acquired, over the time that we've held it, a vacant property, it's not being utilized, is going to deteriorate. That's just the name of the game. Even if you are doing things to try to maintain, which we did. Vandalism it can be managed, but it cannot be stopped if you have a vacant building. That has been my experience, sir, in the 40 plus years that I've been involved with or associated with real estate in this city.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I really appreciate all the extra commentary. It helps me a lot.
Okay.
I just want to also add that I've toured some buildings where they were in the ownership of KCPS in an attempt to try to transfer to a private ownership, and they were in very bad disrepair. So I just want to it's anecdotal. It was just one instance I can think of, but I just want to kind of clarify for the rest of the commissioners that KCPS isn't necessarily having the means to keep those buildings completely secure as well. I had one question that I just, out of curiosity, Chip, if you know, the K through 12 restriction that's put on your property, is that coming from the state or is that coming from the specific city or school district?
School district. That's a requirement that they put on as a condition of sale.
Okay. Is that something just in your experience you're seeing in other school districts, or because it kind of comes off to me as sort of a turf war between the KCPS and charter school in terms of building use that
I do think there is an element of that, Commissioner, and I would say that is anecdotally from what I've observed. But as far as the reasoning, and there are, as with anything, there are always two sides. It is, I'm not in the best position to answer that question.
Sure.
I can tell you that of the 6 schools that I've looked at, 4 of which I've been involved with redevelopment, they've all had this restriction.
Okay.
And my understanding is that's been pretty consistent. There are a couple of outliers. One was the Academy Lafayette Cherry Street campus, which was one where they were able to work something out and for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would view that as more of an outlier than the regular rule, just given my own experience.
Yeah, and I'm just curious because I see a lot of charter schools across the city who are scrambling to figure out building building locations that work for their program, and sometimes it can be very awkward. And I'm thinking a lot of interest in charter school, high schools has been
Do I
topic.
think that taking an old public school and repurposing it for charter use has merit? Yes, but I'm not a party to that because I'm not the owner or the seller. So
yeah, I just think in terms of like the conversation around blight, we, before we've even started, we've already reduced the price significantly from that 6 million down to 2 million. And so this is not necessarily a reflection on whether we approve or disapprove you, but it is sort of a reflection on where blight takes place, because obviously things don't work out financially as well when the price is cut so significantly due to the use change. So just an interesting perspective.
Just as a point of information, I want to offer just that schools can partner with the district. A charter school could partner with the district to have use of a school, but it will require that charter school to have the district as the LEA. So while we talk about community, and we definitely want our community to be thriving, and we want opportunities for kids to have spaces, we have great schools in their community, I also want us to be mindful that we would not ask Pepsi to sell its secret sauce or resources to Coke. We would understand that. And so I just want to add that layer that charters and districts either work together, but if you want an asset that your competitor has, then your competitor has to think about what that might mean if that means more kids leave their district, which reduces their budget. So just wanted to add that. And then second, in the repurposing, I can't remember exactly how many schools were in the repurposing, but I can tell you that the school district has maintained Southwest, and we would never see Southwest and this level of disrepair if it was owned by a private developer or by the school district. And that building has been sitting vacant for some time. So just want to highlight those things. I mean, I think I'm in a position where I want to see something happen at Westport. I think anyone who's willing to come into the community and think about what needs to happen so it looks better, so families feel more welcome, so people move back in, is a great opportunity. So I don't want you guys to think that this discussion, at least from my perspective or other commissioners, is not saying that this is a great project. What we are being mindful about is that the tax incentives that come before us. And so we just want to do our due diligence in that regard.
understood, Commissioner, and that's the way I've taken this discussion. So thank you for your comments.
Mr. McCoubry, you had a comment?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I like to make a point of clarification, and I would ask Mr. Walsh to chime in if appropriate. But Jim, would you mind sharing the planning area slide again as it relates to the deed restriction and the property tax abatement comments? So not the entire area. The entire area was conveyed by the school district to the current owner. The pieces to the west there, thank you if you would circle that, Mr. Potter, I'd appreciate it. Yes, that is part of the planning area, and it's going to be hopefully be redeveloped as uses to support both the Plexpod property or the middle school and the Westport High School. But those were not conveyed by the school district and could potentially receive property tax abatement. So I just wanted a point of clarification there, though. Generally, the lion's share of the property is subject to that restriction, but not the entire area. That's all I have.
That is correct. The main Westport High parcel that is being outlined right now and by the cursor has the deed restriction. So basically up to Warwick, but when you pass Warwick and you get to 3 additional parcels that have been put in, because again, we're looking at this holistically, commissioners, those came from a different seller, and there is no prohibition there on the use of tax abatement with respect to redevelopment there if it's deemed appropriate.
Mr. Walsh, it's Commissioner Ellender, just a vision of the 220 multifamily units. Are you envisioning affordable housing or part of that to be affordable housing for the community?
We do see an element of these being workforce housing, which, if I have my figures correct, affordable usually starts at 60% AMI. Workforce tends to start at 80% AMI, so it's the 80% level. A segment of our units on rents will comply with the Lucas ordinance. Looking at where rents are in this area, we are in the mid-range for what you would be seeing on rents for underwriting purposes. You know, ultimately, it's a question of what the market will support. We're looking to have housing that we believe will complement the investment we've made to the north side of 39th with the old junior high, and will also be well received by the neighborhoods, particularly South Moreland, which is the situs for the high school.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant?
I just had a question, just trying to better understand, Jim, your report. I noticed that you had an appendix 3 that talked about the development form guidelines, and I'm trying to understand, is that because we had a conversation in an earlier docket item that was about whether projects have design guidelines, is this something that is part of the project?
Yeah, Commissioner, I think, can you hear me okay? Okay. We referred, that appendix is the design guidelines outlined in the Midtown area plan, Midtown Plaza area plan. City staff typically, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but they typically like us to include, as far as development design guidelines, we like to follow the area plan that's in place that governs that particular area. So in this case, design guidelines will be administered through the Midtown Plaza area plan.
Okay, any other questions? So at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. Joe or Chris, is there anybody that's raised their hand to talk about this project?
Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony at this time. Is there any other comments from the applicant side that you'd like to state before we go into discussion amongst the commissioners?
No, sir.
No, we just appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your presentation and the project. So with that, is there anybody like to discuss a little bit amongst the commission, or just go straight to a motion? Either way.
I'm excited about this, but Kobe, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
My thoughts about the project?
Yeah, and we had talked about different blight determinations in the past, and so I know you've seen a lot more of them than we have.
Well, from my standpoint and experience on the blight studies, this seems like it's right up there towards the top as part of having a designation of blight. I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from, that the appearance of some kind of decline in just general owning the facility and not maintaining it. I know that is a concern, but I think, again, with a facility of this size that's abandoned, the weather, the illegal entry, trespassing, whatever, it takes its toll on these kind of facilities. And it is a blighted facility, that and the asbestos, lead, and all of those kind of things. It's going to take a lot to get this building back up to standards that we have today in order for it to move forward on the PIC which they propose. I think it's a great project, a great thing that they're presenting to us, and so I think a little bit of help is needed, and I do believe that it is a blighted facility. So no doubt about it. I mean, this particular building being around since 1907, when it was built at the time, it was one of the premier facilities back in the, throughout the whole country, if not other places. And I'm excited to see that we're going to continue this building and use it for another purpose. It's going to continue to stand and serve time. I wish we did, frankly, buildings of this kind of nature moving forward, but unfortunately we don't. So I'm excited about it, and I'm just being repurposed into something that can maintain its character, history that we've all grown to enjoy. So that's my opinion.
Thank you for your thoughts, Kobe.
Sure. So if there's no more discussion or any thoughts, let's go ahead and move to a motion.
I'd like to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt because just a thought came up. So I think there's, Joe, is there two motions we need to make? One for the designation of the blight, and then the second one for the approval of the plan, or can we do that all in one particular motion?
For some reason, I'm not remembering how you ordinarily do. I think you ordinarily do one motion, but you have to state both.
Okay. And then I guess for a process standpoint, so this will come back for rezoning to the UR, plus there'll be some kind of final development plan of sorts, I'm guessing.
Well, it's already zoned MPD, which means you've all have approved a master plan for it. However, I do know that they have submitted some changes to staff recently that warrant a major amendment in our opinion. So it's likely that you'll see an amended plan coming back before you. It'll probably be MPD though.
Okay. All right. And then I guess my last question, since you brought that up, and I think somebody already alluded to it, but the master development plan, it does have some design standards in that, and everything's okay with that. Mr. Walsh, as far as maintaining those standards and things that are written in that MPD?
Yes, I don't see any issue with that I'm aware of, unless staff has seen something, and if so, I've missed that. I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in what was recently submitted that would be different. However, we haven't really reviewed it yet either.
Yeah, the main changes just for the amendment deal with some of the infrastructure, not with the building itself. The only thing where I could see a conflict between the design standards that were included in the appendix to Jim's report is with the National Park Service guidelines with respect to the historic preservation, rehabilitation. Obviously, if there's a conflict there, the National Park Service guidelines have to control. It's just a condition of utilizing the tax credits. But my experience has been that the city is always been open to that and recognize that. And usually those tension points are minor when and if they do occur.
Okay. And I apologize for going backwards a little bit here, but I was kind of curious because I forgot to ask, you're going to reestablish Oak Street, or is that going to be a public or is that a private street?
It'll be a private. We will re-extend it from the south, which is 40th, so the south edge of the property, north. One of the amendments is right now, just because of some site challenges, instead of running it straight up to 39th, we will connect in at Locust Street initially. So that's one of the minor changes in the amendment that Joe made reference to.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So with that, I'll zoom back forward to see if we can get a motion on this.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket item number 8. As stated. Is that all?
Yeah, you're going to have to state the two items, the approval of the blight study.
I'd like to approve docket item number 8, PIA blight study and general development plan. Is that all?
Okay.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second. If there's no more discussion, Lisa, do you mind taking a roll call, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
okay, Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, so it looks like the motion passes for Black as well as the general development plan. And thanks for bringing that in again, and good luck with the project.
Many thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't think there's any other items on the agenda today for our meeting. Unless anybody has something they'd like to state or say. Okay, with that, I guess meeting adjourned.
That was a quick break. Kobe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get used to it.
Yeah, I like this. I like this.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.